Hi, everybody. So Anya and I are here for our series, and we're going to talk about, like last week, we talked about rejection is protection. Well, there's some rejection that happened, and it wasn't human to human, it was thing to human. And I'm going to want Anya to talk about that because it's giving her an opportunity for change.
As
So make
always.
sure your volume's up.
Well, I just checked it. It says it is, but for
Okay,
some
good.
reason, and I'm not at home, obviously, as I'm going to talk about, so I don't have any of my equipment. So unfortunately, it might be a little bit less better quality today than it was last week, but I will have my equipment next week. But yeah, so I won't gibber on because I know I can talk for England, but I have I've had a lot of issues with my house, and I mean, a lot of you that follow my TikTok or know me on a Tuesday night or whatever, you'll kind of understand this is what I talk about a lot. My kind of Achilles heel at the moment is the house that I'm living in and the kind of vibrational area of where I'm living. And it kept coming up in minor ways, like I've had mini floods before where I've had flood coming in and my lino in my kitchen's been floating and we've had to get pumps on and get all the water out. And, I have like quite a couple of things that need fixing that just don't get fixed and passed on. And, just constant problems with this place. And I'm always working to like make it more me and higher vibrational, and it's like a constant full-time job just to do that. And I've been really trying to bring in change and bring in a larger abundance to make a move with my little boy. And yeah, so after that, after calling in this change and calling in this abundance, from that what happened was a flood. But it was quite a severe flood, so we had like 2 to 3 inch of groundwater, river water mixed in with sewage, which just completely destroyed the whole of the downstairs of my house. Like the videos, you would honestly think it's something out of the Titanic scene when you open up the door. It's just pouring in, and I'm only laughing about it because that's just my coping mechanism. And please don't think I find it funny. It's just if I don't laugh, then I'd get really stressed out about it and I'd get really overwhelmed. So I found that this time throughout all the stress, I found it easier to just ride the wave literally and just kind of raise my frequency to just think, well, what can I do? The house is already flooded, everything's already broken. There's nothing. Why would I sit there crying and stressing and panicking when it's already done? The best thing I can do is to just at least ground myself in higher frequencies. So yeah, that's why I was laughing then. But yeah, we got all the pumps on, and that really didn't make it made a little bit of a difference. But obviously, everything is still destroyed and contaminated, and I have a 3-month-old baby, so it's an environmental health hazard to be in the house with the raw sewage. So that left us temporarily homeless on Sunday, and sofa surfing at 1 o'clock in the morning, which was not fun, with a little baby. And my animals obviously had to go with family members as well earlier on in the day because I was out when this happened. So I was out having lunch with a friend. So there was no one in. And the poor animals, I got a text from my neighbour saying they were swimming in the kitchen. So I had to get family members to come and look after them. And all I could say was I was so grateful to have any form of support network at that time because, it would have been disastrous if I was on my own and had no one to go check on my babies. But yeah, long story short, everything's kind of broken. All my furniture needs to be thrown because everything's contaminated with sewage. I mean, there's literally like tampons floating around my living room. It's pretty disgusting. So, it's not ideal for having a child. But the way I've responded is kind of the lesson I've took from this is how we respond is key. And I'm not in an ideal situation, but it could be a lot worse. I have some form of support in some ways, but now I am left without a home and without a pathway moving forward right now. So I'm just kind of opening the space for what comes next and for what I'm meant to gain experience wise, develop about myself, what I'm meant to reflect on. And I do know that the previous version of me, like a year ago, 2 years ago, would have had a complete meltdown. I mean, I did when we used to flood, not as bad as this. I used to have a meltdown, like panicking and stressing, And maybe it was because of how bad it was. Maybe it's because I'm desensitized to it now with how many times it has happened. Like I said, never this bad, but it really does feel like now it felt I hate to say I'm at peace with the catastrophe, but it kind of is like that. I'm at peace with knowing that I'm just trusting that whatever's happening is exactly what's meant to happen. And I don't have fear about why it's happening. I'm just trusting that thankfully I have a roof over my head temporarily. I have food, and we're both, me and my little man and my animals are all safe, and that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brad's had to stay down with the cats because they're in and out of the house, so we have to have someone to look after the cats. So unfortunately, Brad's slumming it, but we have, we just make it work, and I've got a lot of gratitude for him for sorting a lot of the things out. But it has been really difficult, especially when you're not in a place to like financially sort things out straight away, and receive other options. And obviously, it's one of them when you work in this energy work. There's always things we're blocked in, and there's always things like other layers to work through. We can't have everything open and everything accessible, otherwise there's no point in the human experience. And a lot of the things I am working through, majority of the time, are working through my root chakra, self-worth, receiving and worthiness, and like opening up to that. And obviously that's connected with abundance. So that's kind of a big thing of mine that I work through over the years, and help people work through the layers I've gone through, and then obviously access different layers myself. So I do know it's also another layer of that, of knowing that I always preach that you need to know you're safe and provided for without having anything, and knowing that the universe has it. And then I've literally been put in that situation, and thankfully I've actually been able to walk my own talk, and to be able to know that I am protected and I am provided for, and I will be okay. But it is now about setting the intention to really, call in the frequency and the resources and the abundance that I do need to be able to open up the next pathways for brighter and higher vibrational future.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
yeah,
and I
that's my
think it's important that people know that the divine feminine
mm,
just came through a massive gateway.
woohoo.
And that, that's the souls.
Yes.
So the souls just cleared a massive amount of gunk
Hmm.
from abuse, and the way the divine feminine has been treated throughout history, that has been cleared.
Hmm.
So, and you said you had an activation yesterday.
Yeah, it's like I don't, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, go for it.
It's been a, I mean, again, that's kind of been part of the things I've been working with divine feminine activations. And I will openly say that years ago, I was like quite an active feminist and quite an active, like, I'm a very strong, powerful, independent woman. And I still would class myself as that, but I don't class myself as a feminist anymore because I don't like the label. However, I was very much on the kind of independence and freedom, which I will always preach, but the way I was doing it was very inverted. And I've had to go through a whole journey, and that affected my relationship massively as well. Like, I was so predominantly in my masculine energy. And in the fight for kind of what I perceived as equality, I actually completely lost touch of what it meant to be a woman and what it meant to be in my feminine energy. And it also comes out of trauma too, and out of a place when there isn't the divine masculine energy present in society. The divine feminine has no choice but to bring that within self, and just to do that, and to provide and to protect. And a lot of us in the awakening in 2020 was women. There wasn't a lot of men at the front line, it was women at the front line. And so we had no choice but to be in a divine masculine energy. And I was not physically but extremely in my divine masculine energy, in terms of anger, defensiveness, attitude, the way I spoke. I mean, I still have, I'll always have where I come from, but there is such a difference in my ability to be vulnerable, and my ability to communicate and ask for what I need, instead of creating an argument, or, being aggressive or being overbearing and dominating and dictating, and kind of always expecting everything to be done and being the project manager. Like, that for me was affecting my relationship so much. And then I was externally blaming that because it was something I wasn't receiving externally, not realizing that I was completely blocking myself off from receiving it because I was so predominantly in my masculine energy. It left no room for an exchange of
Mhm.
feminine and masculine balance. And that then affects your money as well, and your abundance, because you are in the, I have to earn it, I have to graft for it, I have to build for it, and that it's making it hard, it's making it hard work. and it's like we're clawing for it. And again, that was how my energy was focused on. So I had to really decode a lot of that and deprogram a lot of that within self. And it is actually more recently, last year, that I went through a big like awakening. I was going through my Kundalini awakening since probably 2017 in terms of reclaiming my body, reclaiming myself, reclaiming my own voice, my own power. And that's why I kind of went into the feminism, because
Mhm.
that was part of reclaiming my own power as a woman and my own voice. But then obviously you navigate through when you heal in terms of now it comes to a place of there's a deep acceptance in knowing I am worthy to just receive, not to have to earn that, not to have to, do anything. And the activation yesterday was what felt like a full circle. So that's why I kind of went back a little bit, because I wanted to give the context, because I've been going through this for a long time. It's been a lot of years in the build. It's not just kind of like an overnight activation, and there was a very profound moment through this journey about this activation years ago. I'd say maybe 2021, after a plant medicine ceremony. And there's a lot of different energies going on, and after that it was a deep channeling of this ancestral wound that we are carrying, of the feminine wound. And every woman in that room, as I was talking, was sobbing, including me. It was like this experience of channeling in what we're all carrying in our bones and what we pass on to our children, and how that cycle is now time to be broken. And I feel like what's happened yesterday, I kept thinking about that conversation that happened in 2021, and it was like, okay, this is the full circle, this is the cycle of this. And it was a physical activation, and I was like I was saying to you earlier, it was a very playful, childlike, and I don't really feel that energy much, so it was unfamiliar to me, and I quite had to understand why it was there, and had to navigate. It was quite strange, but it was definitely a physical one, but then also a remembrance and like an integration of the understanding that we don't need to do anything to receive, we just need to be. And I really kind of heard that and resonated with that deep in my bones, and allowed it to become true to me.
Yeah. You
Mm,
really don't have to do very much at all.
yeah.
Usually you need to say, yes, I'm allowing it to come in. And when the opportunity presents itself, you need to go ahead and reach out and take the opportunity. But otherwise, you don't need to be this hustle culture stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
That is
baby.
not it. Like, that's not
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So, being aware of that and knowing that if you have the right frequency, it will just flow for you and you will be abundant. It really makes a difference. And I'm just so grateful that the divine feminine came through that just recently,
Yeah.
because it's been a big struggle
Mm-hmm.
to get to
Mm-hmm.
that point. And we've come through a
Oh, a
lot
big
of
one.
stuff just
Woohoo!
recently.
A
Yeah,
big one.
that was a huge one.
And I liked what you said about female souls receiving that activation more so yesterday.
Mhm.
So if, for example, you didn't feel an activation yesterday, like we was talking, that's fine. That doesn't mean you're not healing, or you're not gone through something. Some of us have more female oversouls, some of us have more masculine oversouls. And I think it was just the feminine oversouls that felt that physical and energetic activation yesterday. So if you didn't pick up on that, don't worry about it. It's just not for your soul to feel.
Right. Because a lot of us, so think about this, a lot of us female bodies have a male oriented soul. So slightly more male than female soul,
It's really difficult to live
which
in
is
a.
why we've been able to instigate the Great Awakening.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I get that. I do get that. That
Yeah.
makes sense. When you said it like that, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because I was thought, well, surely that would put you in some form of imbalance in terms of feeling more masculine in a feminine body. But then when you said it was to pioneer the awakening, that makes sense. It's to push stuff forward, which I must admit, like I said, throughout my whole teenage years, there was not a lot of feminine energy present within my soul, especially not in 2020 and 2021. I was very dominant, aggressive, but a lot of it was coming from insecurities too, and
Yeah.
fear. So once I
Yeah,
worked through that, I actually found the true power was not actually from shouting, it was more
right.
from within. And I got there in the end, but
Yeah,
it was definitely a full circle. And like you say, it was not an easy journey. And I must say, it's not a nice thing to admit, but there were a time where I did have a bit of a dislike towards men, like a trauma wound, like a what's the word, like a resentment,
mhm,
and like a deep feeling of you don't understand. And I still will stand by the fact that I don't think a man does understand what it's like to be a woman no more than I understand what it's like to be a black person or a homosexual being that gets persecuted for that. We don't know what it's like to experience someone else's life journey. And I feel like that's the point in having multiple lifetimes and different things so we can experience different
all of
levels
it.
of awakening and ascensions. And to then, obviously, as we tap into them as this being, we gain that conscious awareness of what that person's going through from our experiences in other lifetimes.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes us more deeply connected to each other and less likely to persecute and harm each other with his words and his actions when realize we're deeply connected as one. It's all energy.
Yeah. Well, and most of us have been all shades and all economic places and everything. We've all experienced, because most of us are very old souls.
Hmm.
So we've experienced all those different aspects. And that's how we learn. And that's also how we send information back to God source.
Yeah.
But I think it's also why there's prevalence in people not preferring the opposite sex as well.
Yeah.
Because when this started, more people have the opposite soul wise. A lot of people have a male oriented soul in a female body and vice versa.
Right.
And a lot of souls are fairly balanced because they've gone back and forth a whole lot. But
Yeah.
the younger the soul is, the less, or the
Balance.
less lifetimes on earth, because I don't really feel like
First the weird place.
most ETs or most beings are so intensely oriented
On gender, no, then
with their physical.
I don't think so either. I agree.
Yeah.
But I have a
So
question. Oh, sorry, go on.
go ahead. No.
Um, so Well, so obviously, I've always felt like being sexually attracted to your own gender. Like I always said, I feel like that's something that's just an energetic thing. It's just an energy thing, like you recognize the soul and the frequencies and things like
Mhm.
that. But then I suppose when there is a big agenda going on right now in regards to, you know, the transgender movement and everything like that, I always wondered as a child, even as a teenager, I used to question it because obviously it was slightly coming out when I was younger, not coming out, you know what I mean? People were talking about it in society. And
Mhm.
I remember thinking then, is this a situation where like the wrong soul went in the body? And then they ended up like being in the wrong body. And then later on I thought I actually came to the conclusion it wasn't. And obviously I feel like there's more of an attack going on more so now on the divine
Yeah.
feminine and masculine energies. And that's kind of pulling apart what that means to kind of be in the body that you're in. However, then the follow-up I have to that is I've experienced a lot of people that state that without going through that experience of changing the gender that they would have wanted to kill themselves and they've been severely mentally depressed. And then it just makes me question, like, why is that happening to their soul? Did they call that experience in to grow, or is that an attack on their soul that, do you know what I mean? Like, is that something that's happened to them without the free will, or is that something they chose to go through as an experience?
They chose it. So
Mhm.
people choose it. One thing they also choose, though, is their body. So
Mhm.
you choose what body you come into.
Yeah.
And to hurt the body, so
Yeah, I
the
agree.
body doesn't distinguish, oh, I'm going to go in and change my gender.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
body is seeing that as trauma.
Mutilation, isn't it?
Yeah. So the body is not happy.
Yeah.
And also when you think about it, like there's a lot of discord with hormones and,
Hmm.
different things. And also people don't have enough minerals. They don't have enough magnesium. They're going to go into depression. They're being barraged with information
Hmm.
about this is the way you need to be. Um, and we just need to leave people alone and let them figure it out on their own as children. Because
Yep.
as
Yep.
children, they could say, I want to be a pirate or I want to be a truck driver, but they
Hmm.
don't have to change body parts to do that.
Yeah. 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 100%.
So,
That's
and
funny.
we also don't expect them to.
No, and there's no pressure. Like you say, it's not
Yeah.
really. And I suppose that's why I wanted to ask, because it's one of them subjects that I kind of don't really talk about with many people, because I don't, like I said before, I don't like offending people. I don't like feeling like I'm being, overbearing with people. But it is something that has to be questioned when, we talk about things, energy things all the time, and it is a question that I did want to ask, because there is energetic factors going on. There's
Oh,
always
yeah.
mind over soul. There's always kind of physical and energetic factors at play, and there is all this kind of programming in the society that's taking place. And then there's trauma wounds and abandonment wounds in the inner child, and all these kind of parental issues or blah blah blah. And then it's like they're coinciding with each other and creating this situation, which is then being amplified by lower frequencies that be to create a sense of disconnection from self, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
it's quite a difficult one to navigate when people genuinely believe that that's for their best interest and that's what's helping them. Like, it's quite difficult because you don't want to tell them that they're wrong and for about their own body, but it's something that it's difficult to see how that could make a healing effect.
Well, the main thing is, and this is for everybody, for everything, you have to know from the inside out, not from the
Mm,
outside in. So
yeah.
this goes for church and government and school and everything. If
Mm,
you are getting your information from the outside and deciding who you're going to be because of that,
mm-hmm.
then it's not your decision. You're
Yeah, it's
handing
not
over your
authentic.
power to somebody else.
Mm,
And
love that.
there's going to be a lot of people right now because souls have not come in according to gender, they've come in according to ascension.
Yep, yep, yep.
So there's going to be a lot more people that are attracted to the same sex right now. That's going to
Yeah,
be, that's normal
yeah. I
right
think that's
now. But
very nice.
what is going on with the body? Like, are you hurting your
Yeah.
vehicle? And are you being encouraged to hurt your vehicle? And it's
From a
your
young.
choice,
Yeah.
but creating that when it's a child,
Mm.
in my opinion, that's not okay. Leave the
No,
kids alone, let them figure out what they want to do, and they'll
I,
figure it out later once they're done with all the stuff that you go through as a child, all the changes in the body, and just let them know that they are
exactly.
loved no matter what. Because
Yep,
that's the
unaccepted
thing. You
for
want to
who
build a
they.
strong internal love for themselves, and they'll figure it out. Because
100%.
there's a lot of people that have done some of those changes as a child and then they regret it later.
I've seen
So
that
just
person.
leaving it be for a while and saying, you know what, like if you're having a hard time at school from the outside information, then let's take you out of that for right
Yeah,
now. And then you
yeah,
can just be with yourself and let's find you some people that you can hang out with that are just going to love you for you because you're
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And then they
100%,
can figure out what they want in the future for later.
100%. And that's the difference in, like, leading people down a pathway that they're not meant to go down, instead of just letting them figure out where they're meant to go. If
Yeah.
an adult really truly wants to go through that experience, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. If that's
No.
genuinely what they want to do, that's fine, you do that. But what I don't like is an agenda being pushed upon children to make them question their whole sense of being before they even know what that is.
Yeah.
That's what I think is wrong personally. But I don't know how I even got onto that from the divine feminine. But the point is, a lot of it was an attack on what it means to be a woman and what it
Yeah.
means to. I mean, the woman of the year for many years, I'm sure, has been a transgender person. So that says it all. They've taken away, what it means to be a womb man. It's all about the womb space, the sacral space, and to take away that identification actually takes away your power as a woman and your power as you are literally a representation of creator, of source energy, of God,
Mhm.
divine energy, what you want to call it, because you birth life into this earth. You are a creator of life. If that does not say it all, then what does? But there's been such an attack on the sacral space from even birth trauma. Guys know that's been a big thing that I've delved into and spoke about. But children that are born within the system of that are born with trauma. The women then carry that trauma ongoing, and PTSD is not something that's just like there in the background. It's something that your body thinks you are experiencing ongoingly every day. So your body is actually reliving them traumatic experiences in its nervous system all the time if that's not processed through, and it's constantly trying to help you survive in fight or flight. So the whole thing's been attacked from the sacral chakra, and now it's about the harmony being brought to all them different factions that have disconnected what it means to be a woman, connected to the sacral, connected to the body, connected to our feminine energy, our divine birthright to just exist and be in our sacred self and be provided for and protected. And I'm not saying that you don't work, because I am a most independent creator of work, but it's my joy. I create because it's a joyful thing. I don't have to do it because it's a burden and it's something I have to go out and build and claw away at. I do it because I love what I do, and it's
Mhm.
such a joy to create, and that's how it should be. It's not about losing your independence. It's about being able to exist and being able to just receive.
Yeah. Well, and I think men as well have been attacked in the same area,
Oh,
you know, in the
100%.
sacral. So it's really important. Like there's a lot of feminine souls in male bodies right now, and there's a lot of female souls in female bodies.
Yeah,
And once the veil is gone up here, we're going to know who somebody is. We're going to see their soul. We're going to feel it.
that's
And
interesting.
it's not going to be like nobody's going to care. Nobody should care now.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're trying to navigate, okay, I don't totally understand what's going on here.
Hmm.
Um, and that's been a progression for people, not understanding what's going on. But part of it is everybody's been thinking in the physical. I look at somebody and I expect this to be true.
Yeah,
So we have to go deeper. We have to go within and
we
know
do.
the answers from within.
We do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that was a good, that I was wanting to ask them questions, but it also brings us to just trusting and just knowing that sometimes, like, that's been a real big thing for me lately. As you
Yeah.
guys know, by my circumstance and situation. I mean, I'm literally homeless with a baby, and having to trust that this is what's right for me, even though obviously my inner child, my adult self, is panicking and wanting to organize and get this stuff done. Part of me is just sat there like, do you know what? Yeah, I'll do the human stuff to kind of call them and do that. But in energy wise, I'm just going to be open to receiving and trusting that this is
Mhm.
exactly what I'm meant to be doing and why it's happening. So, as much as sometimes it's difficult, and the control freak in me previously would have thought if I'd have been in this situation, I'd have had a meltdown and, been panicking and stressed and da, da, da. And I am really kind of shocked at how blasé I've taken it myself and how much trust I do have in knowing that all the materialistic things, the property, the home, the safety, I always used to preach about that being taken away and having to practice it, like I said, and now I've had to kind of walk my own talk and do that. And
Mm.
it has been a challenge, but it's also been a lot easier than I thought it would, by knowing that I trust in the divine plan and the divine timing, and knowing that everything's flowing for a reason. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
Well, and you're being given an opportunity.
yeah,
Like when you quit a job or you know that something's not right for you, as soon as you leave that situation, whatever it is, whether it's a house or, you know, a job or a relationship, you're making room for something else.
yeah,
You're making room for something new. And that's what we are doing when we're working on our psyche and we're
Yes.
releasing cords and we're working on our traumas and we're making room for something new.
Yep. It's like decluttering, you
Yeah,
know. And
it's
it's
decluttering
also
and we're
what
on
I
a
noticed
massive
is,
wave of it.
sorry, it is,
Go
it's a
ahead.
massive decluttering. And what I've noticed is the more that we step into that divine feminine frequency, the more we raise, the more the masculine frequency around us is just naturally meeting us there. Like we're
Yeah,
not having to tell them or force them to do, or not that it can anyways, but you know, there's not that pressure and that kind of energy that feels telling people what to do. It feels more so now that if we just raise into our own frequency and allow that softened energy to be more vulnerable, be more gentle, be more open to receiving that support, that love, being held, and kind of creating actual room, like you were just saying, that's what kind of triggered it for me. If we can declutter and create the room, then we create room for them to kind of exist and more harmonious balance between our relationships.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And if you think about all the healing that's gone on recently, like the divine feminine has gotten a huge healing
Yeah.
over the last couple of weeks. And you
Mm.
finally felt the activation from it yesterday.
Yeah.
The divine masculine, it's their turn. They're coming in and they've been blamed for a multitude of things. And even while that healing was going on in the astral plane, the divine masculine was holding space for the divine feminine to heal
Yeah.
because we've been in this polarized place where everybody's
Mhm.
attacking everybody and making everything miserable for each other because that's how we were learning.
Mhm.
We're not going to learn that way anymore. So both parts of us, the feminine and the masculine, need to be healed from the polarity. So I think the masculine is coming next.
I
Yep.
agree. My dog is barking, that's my baby. Anyway,
Okay.
little monkeys. But no, I 100% agree. It's like it has to happen. Anyway, come on. If one raises the frequency, then the other has to match there. So it's kind of goes hand in hand, yin and yang. And also I just want to state that this doesn't necessarily have to be man and woman, as you've said. You
Mm-mm.
know, this can be like if you've got a more masculine soul, you know, in relationships where it's the same sex couples, if there's more different dynamics there. I'm not saying specifically men and women, it is just this has been the divine feminine awakening first, and then I think what's happening next will be the divine masculine. But I'm not sure it'll be the same way and the same kind of type of activation. It will be the same type, but in the same delivery. I feel like that will be different. I feel like it's
Yeah.
more of a conscious awakening for them that will then be slowly integrated into the body because they already have quite a lot of physical connection to the body. I think it's more the emotional body that's going to come online.
Yeah. The heart
Mm.
awakening.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Um, and the feeling,
Mhm.
allowing themselves to have feelings because they've had to block their feelings so that
Really?
they could be
Yeah.
the heavy in the relationship, the heavy duty person. But most relationships, they will be balanced
Yeah.
as a divine masculine and a divine feminine, no matter what body you're in. So
Mhm.
it the male person can have a female soul and the female can have a male soul and they're together, or it can be two women or two men or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the energy that matters.
100%. 100. And do you think that's the same? So people have brought this to me because obviously we've got the attack and the attack on the gender. You know, that's
Yeah.
clearly a thing. But then what I get retorted when people ask me the question, so when children are being raised and there's two people of the same sex or the same gender, and there's lack of like a mum or a dad, people ask me like, do you think that makes an impact on a trauma level? And the response I give is, I don't think it makes any more of a difference than having a dad there that's an absent masculine figure, anyways. So if the dad is a absent masculine, if the woman is an absent feminine, then it makes no difference. Like if that couple is one's a divine feminine, one's a divine masculine, it doesn't matter what gender the body is, as long as
Right.
they are in alignment to each other and alignment to self, then that child is going to receive what they need from them parents. They don't have to have the male and female bodies, as long as we've got the masculine and feminine energies present for the child to experience. And I think
Yes.
that
Yeah.
from both genders and different experiences, but I think, like we were saying earlier, it's the attack on the physical body that's where it's gone, that's been taken out of proportion.
Yeah, the attack on the because if you think about it, the powers that have been, they're not
Hmm.
in charge anymore.
Yeah, I like that
We're
too.
actually watching a movie.
Yep.
But the powers that have been in charge, everything about it was physical.
Yeah, of course.
So they were always preying just on the physical
Hmm.
and screwing with the mind.
Yeah.
But now that people are in their heart again, and we're beginning to go through that process of choosing from the heart and seeing people for who they really are and seeing their soul, like feeling it. A lot of times you don't actually see it. We
Mhm.
will. But it's changing how people are perceiving each other,
Mhm.
especially in the higher parallels. And I don't ever think about this stuff. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care about anybody's relationship except my own.
Hmm.
And whether that my own is balanced or if I'm cranky, that kind of stuff. Like I'm paying attention to my own relationship.
Which is what we should be
And
doing.
yeah, and other people's, that's their business. But when there is going on a physical like behavior that is being instigated for people who are young and vulnerable, then I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say, no, that's not okay.
100%.
But
Did witness it myself.
yeah, all in all, I think most of the beings in the world or in the, universe, they could care less about this stuff.
No, I think there's like making such a big deal out of nothing. Like they say
Yeah.
the same thing about the race of a human. Like to them, it's like, what are you on about? Why is it such a big deal over this smallness of human vessel skin? But obviously, it's not a big deal to those that experience the suppression of it, and that's the point. It's to raise this truth and to step into the hearts that people aren't being persecuted for differences like that. This is the whole
Yeah.
point, we're not experiencing that for gender, sexuality, race, or any form of suppression that we
Anything.
experience
Yeah.
in minor.
Because anything, in the past, the powers that be that were in charge, they were using division.
Yep.
And that's the ultimate distortion. And now what we're doing is we're coming back together. And if
Hmm.
you're picking on somebody, then you're actually picking on yourself.
100%.
So, because we are all one being ultimately, we're all parts of God source.
And
So if
that's what
you're
exactly that's the thing.
instigating, stuff with somebody, then you're going to get karma because you're creating a problem.
Yeah, you're reflecting it onto your own self,
Yeah.
like you said. And that's what I think has to change. And that's the whole point in awakening. That's how we can see awakening happen, because we know we don't want to project onto other people in that way, because we know it's connection of soul, connection of self, reflection of self. So we don't act out in hatred and anger and like that lower vibrational energy. So once we are more majority doing that as a collective, there's not going to be, obviously I won't say the words, but the heinous things that happen in the three-dimensional world are not going to be existing anymore, because we're not going to be of that frequency to want to do them things as a collective race.
No, no. And those frequencies are like, they don't exist in the higher parallels
Yeah,
anymore, but they're still existing in the lower parallels and we can still see each other right
exactly. Yeah,
now.
yeah, we can still observe it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're watching somebody criticize somebody else, I
It's
would
just not
just,
the right.
Yeah, it's a
vibrational.
bad frequency.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So,
I enjoyed that. That was nice.
yeah, that was good. So I want you to show your book
Yes.
because you had a pretty profound thing and you wrote it all down, which I think is great.
Yeah, so obviously when I go through things, I have my little activations. As I've mentioned before, I've got my wild pregnancy book. That's not what I'm showing you guys now. I've got that available for a different day. I will show you guys. But today is the one I wrote in. I wrote it over the couple of years from 2021, 2022, 2022, and I finished it after Morocco. And it is called Light Up Your Life. It is an online ebook. Obviously, I know quite a couple of people already have it. Can you see that all right, honey?
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
So we've got obviously the contents. We've got a couple of pages about my journey, how I got into spirituality and what kind of triggered my awakening, my own health issues, my own kind of releasing from big pharma and things like that. So there's a lot of them things in there. And then it kind of talks more about kind of going into the connection with spirituality, connecting in with self, and like Honey was saying earlier, not searching externally for answers, going within to find them answers. I obviously focus a lot on grounding and protection, being real to self, being able to look inside, and then there's a lot of kind of different advice on physical things like, as you can see there, detoxing, herbal tea, cold water therapy, food, and then more about the energy stuff like leveling up, implementing the change, again, back into the meditation, rewiring the thought patterns, self love, and these are all kind of guidance, tips, tricks, kind of different, not tricks, but, like different things that I've learned along the way. I recommend to people, and kind of like a simplified guide to putting this all in one place because it can be a very overwhelming process and it can be a very kind of daunting process having to face it all. So just knowing that you can take it little steps at a time and just breathe through and see what connects with you. And then some of the more important ones at the bottom is not being in someone else's shadow, not letting ego overshadow, and finding your true power coming out of hiding, using your voice, finding your soul mission, and getting involved in your purpose. I think them are kind of the game changers in when it comes to awakening because we can really get to kind of activate ourselves on a different level, and go so much deeper. Like we can get deeper layers of a soul and deeper layers of us heart, and I think that's what the most important thing,
Mm-hmm.
for all of us. So that's what I wanted to share. So that is on the website for, I think it's on offer at the moment for 1818. So that's available on spiritualsoulcenter.co.uk. All the links will be below. There is other products as well. I've got my affirmation deck, which is the Soul Speak affirmation deck, which are basically every time you pick a card, it brings forward what you need to be working on. So for me, it would probably be, I am calling in abundance, I'm calling in, new stability, things like that. So I've got all affirmations. There is like 88, I think 82 cards, and they're all regarding mind, body, and soul, different chakras, different aspects of life, reflections of awakening, of relationships. Like there's so many different cards in there. And truly, I use them for readings myself. So I use them to read other people when I'm channeling in, but you can use them for yourself in terms of asking what it is you need to be working on, pulling a card, and then using that affirmation to help reprogram the consciousness and reprogram the subconscious mind on them limitations and beliefs that are being brought up. So them again are also available on the website. They're available for pre-order. The ebook is available immediately. The deck is for pre-order, and the Into the Wild products are also for pre-order. But please get in touch if you have any questions about anything. There is a lot more that we do offer. I do have everything like artwork and jewelry and all sorts of different things like that. I have a lot of online courses, and mentorship to lighten up your life in terms of like the
Mm-hmm.
process of that and the wild pregnancy. So I do offer a lot of different things. Sometimes I don't mention them enough because I'm too busy floating away with the fairies, but I will bring in the little bit of the human world and just kind of bring the relation of what I do. So yeah, I appreciate you letting me share that with your people, honey. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's really important. Like right now, we're in that period of time where we're truly going through ascension and we know we're doing it. So it's time to kind of get to work when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to doing all this stuff. And I'm going to just pause. So one of the things that I've been getting is it's really important that people start to talk to their internal soul, their guidance. So next week, I'm going to be doing a huge activation for that. And you will get the recording and you will get a PDF so that you can continue. And
Yeah,
the thing is when you learn how to do this, it's the consistency of doing it every day, even if it's only for 5 minutes,
definitely.
that really takes you there.
It does.
And this year is about really going within and taking care of yourself and shedding the things that we don't need for ascension. Most of that is programming. We don't need it. So we're going to
It is
let go of it. We have to let go of it so that we can invite in the new fun stuff, the
100%
abundance, all of that beauty. So anyway, we're
there might
both
be
offering things
yeah,
right now. And I think it's really important, wherever you're getting your stuff, your information, whether maybe it might just be sitting outside and that's, what your process is, but doing it on a consistent basis and constantly working on yourself is going to help everyone.
100%.
Yep.
No, it
So,
really is.
yep.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this video, honey. I really appreciate that. And I also know I've kind of talked a lot more today, so it's not intentional, but sometimes, like you said, just sharing the experiences I've gone through recently. So didn't mean to take up the whole show, but it's been really nice
Oh,
to
it's
kind of just
good.
tap into trusting in what I've been going through, but also knowing that we are all going through a collective awakening and we are going through them divine feminine awakenings and masculine ones as we've been speaking about. And this is a big thing. It's a big thing for the collective. It's a big thing for all of us that are experiencing this. So I think the main thing that we can do is just know that we're not going through it alone and that we have the opportunity to kind of help each other through this growth by communicating, talking about it, and just being a bit more vulnerable and making sure we're asking others for what we need.
Yeah. Really being aware of what you need in your own life
Mm,
and honoring yourself. We've been taught to give it away. We've
yeah,
been taught to be martyrs to other people, and we're not supposed to do that anymore. You're a divine being. So take care of you, and then everybody else will get taken care of.
exactly. Yeah.
So, anyway,
Really,
have a
absolutely
beautiful
beautiful.
day, everybody.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank
And
you.
and look after yourself, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye.